Chapter 2279. Bai Ruya already felt the strange gazes from the crowd. She thought they were mocking her. She felt very sad and quickly ran to Qin Ting. She grabbed his arm and begged, "Ah Ting, what's so urgent? Can't you wait until it's over? Stay here. This is very important. I have to go." Qin Ting didn't explain too much because it happened too suddenly. He turned around and got into the car without explaining anything. Bai Ruyue's heart turned cold. She couldn't calm down. What was it that made Qin Ting so anxious? Did something happen to Tanghua? Moreover, when she came back, the guests all turned around and left with a strange expression. The wedding that was originally bustling with noise and excitement had dispersed because of Qin Ting's absence. In just 10 minutes, only her relatives, waiters, and some people who wanted to see a joke were left. Before Bai Ruyu could react, the group of extreme relatives grabbed her and asked if Qin Ting had gone to look for that woman. This made Bai Ruyu collapse. "I asked before. That woman is Miss Tang. She was originally engaged to Qin Ting. Ryue, you're really capable. You can even snatch someone else's fiancé. Look at you now. You got your retribution. She doesn't like you. So what if you gave birth to a son? She always looked down on us." Bai Ryue couldn't listen to the words of the extreme relatives. She only knew that today's wedding was a joke to her. There were also many reporters present today. They were all surrounding her and interviewing her, the bride who had been abandoned at the scene. If these things were reported, she would really lose her face. Bai Ryue didn't have time to think about these. She only felt that it was really Tanghua who made Qin Ting leave. She didn't know that Qin Ting was anxiously rushing back on his private jet. Because this island wasn't in the country, it would take some time to return. No matter how anxious he was, he couldn't do anything. Such a big matter couldn't be solved even by a remote meeting. Especially the person who suddenly withdrew his investment. He couldn't contact him at all. Qin Ting was sure that someone was behind this. He thought about how he had fought with his enemies several times over the years. That partner seemed to be from the capital. Could it be that the other party was sent by his enemies? Qin Ting's expression became more and more unsightly. If that was the case, then he had been careless. What awaited Qin Ting was more than that. When he finally rushed back to the country, he was faced with a mess in the Yanhao group. The stock market had already fallen to its limit. At the same time, several of their projects had all sorts of problems. Because they had placed too much importance on that project, the company's funds were already in a situation where there was a cash flow problem. If they didn't solve this problem, the company might be taken over and go bankrupt. Qin Ting naturally wouldn't admit defeat. He believed that with his ability, he would definitely be able to persuade people to invest in him and solve his burning need. As for the loan from the bank, he had already taken out a loan because of that project. Under such circumstances, there was no way to get a loan from the bank. The bank wasn't stupid. He was already certain that someone was targeting him, and it was very likely that it was his enemy. He suddenly remembered that Tanghua had come to him and said that she had something important to tell him. Was this what she wanted to tell him? She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for a confidant vertex. Chapter 2280. The family Tang was well informed. Perhaps it was true. At this moment, Qin Ting regretted it. Tanghua still had feelings for him. She must have found out something and hurried over to tell him the severity of the matter. In the end, he thought she was here to annoy him. In order to protect Bai Ruyu's face, he didn't talk to her alone. She was so proud. If he wasn't willing to talk, she wouldn't force him. As for why she didn't want to talk about it, it must be because she knew it had already happened. There was no need to talk about it. Enchanting really regretted it. Tangua had only schemed against him once. After that, she didn't do anything to him. This time, she must have come to inform him. Because of this, Enchanting resented Bai Ruyu in his heart. He didn't expect Bai Ruyu to be abandoned by him at the wedding banquet. It was so embarrassing. Enchanting thought he could find a chance to make a comeback. However, those people who tried to curry favor with him weren't willing to lend a helping hand. There were 1 or 2 people who helped him. However, just as they promised to give him cash flow, their company encountered problems the next day. This made Enchanting even more certain that the other party wanted to mess with him. Otherwise, no one would have such power. Bai Ruyu was still sad. She didn't understand the company's situation. She didn't have many friends. Naturally, she didn't know that the Yanhao Corporation was in turmoil. If something went wrong, it would disappear in the long river of history. After Enchanting came back, he was extremely busy every day. She almost couldn't see him. Bai Ruyu could only feel sad. Bai Yanji wanted to say something bad about Enchanting and wanted to look for him. However, Bai Ruyu stopped him and sent him to school. On the 10th day, Enchanting was at his wit's end. This was because no one was willing to help him. He knew that these people couldn't wait for him to collapse. If it wasn't because he was too ruthless, things wouldn't be like this now. Now, he was the one who was ruthless. Moreover, everyone could sense that someone was messing with Enchanting. All the companies that helped him seemed to have encountered different kinds of turmoil. It scared everyone. Finally, Enchanting thought of someone. If there was anyone who could help him now, it would be her. To go or not to go? Today, Enchanting sat at home thinking. Bai Ruyu finally gathered her courage and asked, "Ah Ting, what happened recently? Is there anything that you can't tell me? You're so busy every day and I don't see you come back." There are some problems with the company. Bai Ruyu didn't understand these things. Her current situation wasn't good, so Enchanting didn't want to tell her about it. It would only increase her worries. Even if he told her, she wouldn't be able to help. Now, he was considering whether to find the only person who could help him. However, he wasn't sure if the other party would be willing to help him if he went to look for them. "I have some matters to attend to and need to go out for a while." In the end, Enchanting still decided to try looking for the other party. After all, this was the only way. Bai Ruyu watched as Enchanting took a bath and changed into a clean set of clothes before heading out. Her heart sank. This time, she could not help but secretly follow Enchanting. Enchanting's mind was in a mess as he thought about the person he needed to find. His heart was in a mess and he didn't notice that Bai Ruyu had taken a taxi to follow him. Arriving at a familiar place, Enchanting explained his intentions and waited for the other party to go in and report. After waiting for about 2 minutes, he was allowed to enter. "Su Qing, tell the people outside to let Bai Ruyu in if she wants to. Don't mind her." It was the system that told her that Bai Ruyu had followed Enchanting here. "I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak." Chapter 2281. Enchanting finally arrived at the familiar garden. That woman was drawing in the garden just like before. Even if he didn't walk in front of the drawing board, he could guess that the most detailed drawing on the drawing board was that beautiful white cat. He immediately saw the white cat lying lazily on the hammock. He let out a long sigh and walked to Tangua's side. "Xiaogua. Aren't you going to call me Miss Tang?" "Miss Tang, I'm sorry for looking for you so abruptly." What's the matter? You should know that my company is in trouble, right? Of course I know about such a big matter. Tangua smiled. She was the one who did it. How could she not know? I came to look for you this time because I hope that you can help me. Tangua turned around and stared at Enchanting. She stared at him for a long time, making him feel uncomfortable. She then said, "Why should I?" Enchanting saw her relaxed tone and couldn't guess what she was thinking. He suddenly realized that he had never seriously tried to guess what she was thinking. He had never guessed what she was thinking. He only felt that she was intelligent and pure. Actually, how could someone who grew up in such a family be like a blank piece of paper? She was Tang Yinfeng's daughter. He was the naive one. Even if she liked him, she was different from other women. Enchanting's mind instantly adjusted his method. As long as we get through this crisis, I can give you 5% of my shares. Are you satisfied with this? Tangua continued to draw. She didn't even turn her head as she said, "Do I lack that, 10%? I really don't lack that. What else do you want?" Tangua paused and turned her head to look at Enchanting. She glanced at Bai Ruyu, who was hiding by the flowers, and said clearly, "What if I want you to divorce me?" Bai Ruyu, who was hiding by the side, covered her mouth. She couldn't help but cry. Sure enough, Tangua still cared about Enchanting. There were feelings between them. Tangua shrugged a little uninterestedly. Without waiting for Enchanting to answer, she said slowly, "I was joking just now. No matter what conditions you offer, I don't want to help you. Su Qing, see the guest out. Miss Tang, what do you think about Yanhao's future?" "So what? I'm just a cripple. What do I need so much money for? Even if my father can live to 100 years old, he still has about 20 years to live. I can't live that long. I have no children, nor can I have any. Why did he have to work so hard to earn money? Just this family Tang business alone is already very tiring for me. When I reach the end of my life in the future, I will still be thinking about who to donate so much money to. See? In the end, I have to donate all my hard-earned money. No matter how good Yanhao's future is, it won't be mine in the future. Chairman Qin, I'm not like you. I don't have a son who can inherit the family business." Tangua pursed her lips into a smile. She looked at Enchanting and said, "Speaking of which, Chairman Qin, you were thinking for my sake. You thought I had no children, so you decided to let your biological son be my adopted son, right? After all, my family Tang business is big. Rather than donating it and letting others take advantage of it, why not let your son take advantage of it, right?" Seeing how Tangua's words were getting more and more offensive, Enchanting felt a little embarrassed. Clearly, he already understood that she wouldn't help. "Then I'll have to trouble you. Take care. I won't see you out." Seeing that Tangua didn't try to keep him, Enchanting wasn't sure about her attitude towards him. "I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak." Chapter 2282. After Enchanting left the garden, Bai Ruyu came out from the other side. "Miss Tang." Tangua turned her head and glanced at Bai Ruyu. "Mrs. Qin, why are you here? Didn't you meet Chairman Qin when he came?" "I know." Bai Ruyu pursed her lips. Seeing Tangua's relaxed appearance, she sighed and said, "Back then, I didn't mean to ruin your relationship with Ah Ting. You might not believe me, but I still have to tell you that it was an accident between us." "So what? Nothing can be done." Bai Ruyu decided to throw caution to the wind. "It was my fault in the past. Even if it was unintentional, it was indeed Ah Ting and my fault. But now, we are married. Then, Miss Tang, please don't interfere between Ah Ting and me. We are now legally married. If you continue to interfere, you will be the third party. Bai Ruyu had no choice but to do this to protect her marriage. She felt that Qin Ting and Tang Gua still had some connection. She didn't know what to say to Qin Ting, so she could only talk to Tang Gua. If Bai Ruyu hadn't come to disturb the marriage, how could so many things have happened? Bai Ruyu might look like she didn't care, but she still couldn't let go of Ah Ting. Bai Ruyu didn't expect that Tang Guo would take out her phone and make a call. The phone rang twice before it was picked up. Tang Guo turned on the speaker. Qin Ting's voice sounded, causing Bai Ruyu to widen her eyes. She was at a loss. Chairman Qin. Miss Tang, is there anything else? Why don't you come back? What? I said, come back. You left something with me. Bai Ruyu instantly reacted and panicked. Tang Guo glanced at her and smiled. She didn't dare to tell her man that she didn't want him to look for her, but he actually came here. She even called her the third party. Who gave her the face? Tang Guo saw that Qin Ting didn't respond and said, Chairman Qin, it's not good for you to leave Mrs. Qin here alone. At first, Qin Ting was still wondering if Tang Guo had gone back on her words and wanted to help him. After saying that, his expression changed drastically. He only said that he would be right back and hung up the phone. Hurried footsteps could be heard. Bai Ruyu's face was ashen as she watched Qin Ting walk toward her. Why are you here? Bai Ruyu didn't say anything. She just bit her lips and lowered her head. You followed me here. Bai Ruyu remained silent. The veins on Qin Ting's forehead bulged. Sure enough, this woman couldn't help him and was always causing trouble for him. Previously, she might have had a slim chance of survival with Tang Guo. Now, she didn't know what she had said to the other party, but Tang Guo would definitely not help her anymore. Miss Tang, sorry to disturb you. After speaking, he held Bai Ruyu's hand and prepared to leave. President Qin, if you need me for anything in the future, please bring your wife along. I don't want her to misunderstand that I'm trying to interfere in your relationship. Of course, if it's not a matter of life and death, don't come looking for me. Tang Guo's resolute and decisive words made Qin Ting's heart sink to the bottom. He understood that he didn't have any feelings for her anymore. Tang Guo watched as the two of them left. A happy smile appeared on her face. How could an adulterous man and a mistress who wanted to take over her family's assets live happily together? Wishful thinking. Qin Ting didn't explain anything to Bai Ruyu. Bai Ruyu's heart turned cold. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2283. They were newlyweds, but they didn't seem to have any feelings for each other. Another half a month passed. Yan Hao only had two choices because of the lack of cash flow. First, he could file for bankruptcy. Second, he could be acquired. The company that he had built with his own hands would go down the drain just like that. Qin Ting was so irritable that he didn't pay attention to Bai Ruyu. However, the male and female lead were still the male and female lead. There was still some halo around them. When Bai Ruyu went to work, she accidentally heard about Yan Hao's situation. Yan Hao was currently facing two choices. Only then did she realize what had happened. She didn't want to go to work anymore. She thought about Qin Ting. He must be in pain. Then, she skipped work and went home. She threw herself into Qin Ting's arms and cried. Qin Ting couldn't blame Bai Ruyu. When he heard her voice of self-blame, he chose to forgive her previous actions. When Bai Yanji returned, he also heard that Enchanting's company was in trouble. "Father, do we need a lot of money to save the company?" Enchanting nodded. "A lot. A lot. How much is that?" Bai Yanji asked. Enchanting thought that the child was curious. "We need at least 300 million to barely solve the current crisis." Bai Yanji noted down this number. Bai Ruyu and Enchanting didn't care. Enchanting was already considering selling Yan Hao out. He wasn't willing to let the company go bankrupt. This was his hard work. That night, Bai Yanji secretly turned on his computer. He used his hacking skills to explore the vast world of the internet. Originally, he wanted to use this technology to control the lottery. However, there was almost no such big prize in the country. Even if there was, it wouldn't be solved in a short time. Finally, he thought of Tanghua. She almost stole his father and even came to ruin his mother's wedding. Previously, he heard from his mother that his father seemed to have asked her for help for the company. He was filled with hostility towards this woman. Wasn't she rich? Then he would take some money from her family and help his father solve the company's crisis. Although Bai Yanji was already 7 or 8 years old, he was too smart and seemed to be too sensible. He didn't know that it was illegal to steal other people's money. He hacked into Tanghua's company account, stole 500 million yuan, and transferred it directly to Bai Rui's account. Although he didn't know the consequences of this kind of thing would be serious, he had learned hacking skills from the internet before, so he knew that he had to erase all traces of such things. He waited until he had completely erased all traces before he went to sleep. In the end, Bai Yanji was still too inexperienced. His little tricks were nothing in front of a true expert. Moreover, Bai Ruyu's account suddenly had an extra 500 million. If she didn't report it, it would be strange if she didn't do so. In the morning, after Enchanting went to the company, Bai Yanji secretly told Bai Ruyu about the money in her account. Bai Ruyu was so scared that her face turned pale. She grabbed him and asked, "Where did you come from?" "Yanji, hurry up and tell me, where did you get so much money from?" When Bai Yanji saw Bai Ruyu's anxious face, he finally said that the money was transferred from the family Tang company's account. What to do? Bai Ruyu was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. She didn't expect her child to have such talent. Her child was so young. If he was discovered, what should she do? Her son was so heaven-defying and had done something wrong. She definitely couldn't let anyone know. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2284. However, such a large sum of money would definitely cause a huge commotion. When the time came, it was very likely that this place would be investigated. "Yanji, mommy will send you to school first." Bai Ruyu instantly made a decision. "Yanji, promise mommy that no matter who asks you, you have to say that you went to bed early last night. You are not allowed to show any computer skills in the future. Also, you are not allowed to do what you did last night again. From today onwards, you are not allowed to touch the computer at home. Mommy, Yanji, listen to mommy. If you don't promise, mommy will ignore you forever. I don't want you anymore. Mommy will confiscate your computer first." Bai Ruyu sent Bai Yanji to school with her heart beating rapidly. Then, she went to work and placed the computer in the office. She had previously deleted all the things that shouldn't be on the computer and downloaded some office software. Then, just as she went to work, she screamed and asked for leave from the manager with a panicked expression. In the end, she quickly took a taxi to the police station. "Yes, I just found out that there was an extra 500 million in my account." Bai Ruyu chose to call the police. Such a large sum of money would definitely be traced. For Bai Yanji and for herself, as long as she took the initiative to call the police, the consequences wouldn't be too serious even if they investigated further. In any case, she was a university graduate and knew a little about the law. If she really hid the 500 million, what awaited her was an endless prison sentence. Moreover, her Yanji would also be harmed. It was even more impossible to give the 500 million to Enchanting. It would implicate him. Therefore, this was a hot potato. The amount of money involved was too large. The police quickly filed a case. Family Tang Company's finance department quickly found out that 500 million had disappeared from the company's account. They chose to call the police. The police received a report from Family Tang Company. After some investigation, they found out that the 500 million was from Family Tang Company's account. As for the person who made the money, they had already determined that it was a prank. Bai Ruyu's acting was too good. Moreover, they didn't find any evidence and the money was recovered. This matter was left unsettled. Although the matter was left unsettled, the police were still tracking the hacker who transferred the money. They found some traces, but not much. After that, the hacker didn't appear again. They couldn't do anything about it. As for the fact that Bai Ruyue had reported the case herself, she was obviously frightened by the amount of money. Later, when they investigated Bai Ruyue's background, they also suspected her. But later on, she was ruled out as a suspect. If she really dared to use this money to help Enchanting, then her brain must have been flooded with water. She wanted to kill Enchanting. Bai Ruyue was scared witless and Enchanting didn't know about this. From that day onwards, Bai Ruyue didn't allow Bai Yanji to touch the computer. She even destroyed the internet in the house. Enchanting's company, Yinhao, couldn't hold on any longer and was eventually acquired. He held 45% of the shares, and the rest was held by a few major shareholders and a dozen or so minor shareholders. That day, when he was about to make the deal, he was very surprised to see Tang Guo there. "Because I'm the new boss who wants to buy your company," Tang Guo said with a smile. "Are you still selling?" So what if he didn't sell it? He no longer had the capital to continue supporting the company. Enchanting naturally felt uncomfortable in his heart when his painstaking efforts turned into nothing in an instant. He sold all the shares in his hands to Tang Guo. The price was naturally very low. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2285. But now, he was more willing. After all, with Yinhao Corporation in Tang Guo's hands, the chances of survival were very high and it could develop very well. And he still had a chance to make a comeback. After the transaction was completed, Enchanting looked at Tang Guo with a complicated expression and said, "I hope you can develop Yinhao well. The company is mine. How it develops is my business. It has nothing to do with Mr. Qin, right?" Tang Guo said with a smile. Enchanting didn't argue and walked away with heavy steps. Tang Guo and the remaining shareholders looked at each other. "Is there anyone else who wants to sell their shares to me?" Then she said to two of the major shareholders, "You too, transfer your shares to me. The money will be transferred to your accounts in a while." The dozen or so small shareholders looked at each other and didn't move in the end. Since the company was bought by Miss Tang, the future must be very good. One of the major shareholders stood up and walked in front of Tang Guo. He smiled and said, Mr. Tang asked me to transfer all my shares to you. No matter what you want to do, Mr. Tang will support you." "So you're the one Dad was talking about?" "Yes, Mississippi, okay, transfer them to me." The remaining shareholders still didn't move. Tang Guo couldn't be bothered to talk to them. Then, the next day, Yinhao Corporation declared bankruptcy. Naturally, the bankrupt Yinhao Corporation had become history. Qin Ting was eating at home when he received a notification on his phone. He unintentionally opened it and picked out a piece of news. Why did Miss Tang Corporation buy Yinhao Corporation and declare bankruptcy? It was obviously a financial news article, but the title was so melodramatic. Qin Ting stared at the news for a long time. Finally, his throat was dry and his mouth was bitter. He dialed Tanggua's number. After 2 rings, it was picked up. He asked, "Why?" "What? Why did you make Yinhao go bankrupt? Don't you know that it was my years of hard work?" Qin Ting's tone was questioning. Tanggua felt that this man had never understood his position. What right did he have to question her? "But you've already sold it to me. I'm a cripple who can't walk. I'm not in good health, and I can't have children. I've already told you that I don't have the energy to deal with these things. The family Tang's company is enough. Yinhao alone really can't attract me." "Then why did you buy it?" "It's my price that matches your expectations. If you don't sell it, how can I buy it? You could have sold it to someone else before." How could he have known that she would go bankrupt after buying it? If he had known earlier, would he have sold it to her? "You're angry at me, so you're taking revenge on me, right? You came to my family Tang with nothing. When you leave, you should leave with nothing. Am I right? Yinhao was established using my family Tang group's resources. Do you think it's right?" "I forgot to tell you. Apart from you, half of the biggest shareholders in Yinhao were arranged by me. If it weren't for me and the other shareholders, would you, Yinhao, be so successful? For the previous big project, the person who cooperated with you in the investment was also one of my people. I arranged it. I was the one who asked him to withdraw his investment. The purpose was to destroy Yinhao. Anyway, Yinhao has a lot of projects that I arranged for people to do. Otherwise, how could Yinhao, who has been doing so well, suddenly lose his capital chain?" She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 2286. Those people who originally wanted to help you, the problems in their companies were all caused by me. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Qin Ting was furious. He suppressed his anger and asked, "What did you want to say to me when you came to the wedding that day?" No matter what she said, it was definitely not to inform him that the company would be in danger, because it was all arranged by her. "This?" Tanggua chuckled and pinched the little ears of the white cat on her lap. She said happily, "After I arranged everything, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep the whole night, especially when I thought about the consequences of all this. You will have nothing. I really couldn't hold it in, so I planned to look for you. I wanted to tell you in advance that Yinhao, which you worked so hard to build, is about to collapse, and it was me who did it. Do you hate me that much? Do you want me to fail miserably? I don't hate you. It's not worth it. I've said it before. You came with nothing, so you'll leave with nothing. Think carefully about what you did behind my back after you cheated. How did you treat me? Do you really think I'm someone you can bully? Qin Ting, my father, and the family Tang don't owe you anything. What about you? Not only did you cheat, but you also had a son. You even schemed to make me acknowledge your son as my adopted son, met with the mother and son behind my back, and even used my family Tang's resources to set up your own company. After doing so many bastard things, shouldn't I take back everything? Aren't you capable and proud? Then rely on your own ability to make a comeback. As long as you have the ability to make a comeback, I won't do anything to you. Tang Guo hung up the phone. Was it possible to make a comeback? Dad, I just promised Qin Ting that I won't do anything to him again. Tang Guo looked at Tang Yunfeng with a smile. It's up to you now, Dad. You must not let him make a comeback. Okay, Dad will definitely not let this dog have a chance to rise again. Tang Yunfeng smiled happily. His precious daughter was having fun, and he was also happy. Qin Ting wanted to make a comeback. That was a dream in broad daylight. Dream on. He no longer had any extravagant hopes for bloodlines or descendants. He was very satisfied with having a daughter like this in this life. He had picked up his remaining life, so he should cherish it and do more good deeds. When he returned, he would donate some money to Great Master Huiguang. If Grandmaster Huiguang had not revealed the secret of heaven, allowing him to prolong his life and recuperate his body, allowing him, his daughter, and his family Tang to escape a fatal blow. Xiao Guo was right. If Qian Kaixing didn't bring it with him, he wouldn't bring it with him even if he died. So what if there was no one to inherit it? When he and Xiao Guo were no longer in this world, he would donate the money to those who needed it. Master Huiguang always said that in his dreams, he would become a great philanthropist in the future. God was so kind to him. He had been in the business world his whole life. He might as well use the rest of his time to live up to his reputation as a great philanthropist. The news of the acquisition of Yan Hao and the announcement of Yan Hao's bankruptcy caused a sensation. Originally, the people in the outside world planned to use this matter to write a good article to condemn her for making Yan Hao bankrupt and ruining the careers of countless people because of a man. However, before the article was published, Family Tang's company made an announcement that they planned to open branches in a few cities. The people in these branches were limited to Yan Hao's former employees. As long as they were capable and willing to come, they could apply for the job. Their mouths were blocked. The people who originally wanted to cause trouble for Family Tang could only suffer in silence. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2287. The Family Tang group had never made a move, but once they made a move, they destroyed Yan Hao. This made many people very vigilant. They were a little resentful, but what could they do? They couldn't mess with the Family Tang group, but messing with Qin Ting was very easy. When Qin Ting climbed up, he didn't show any mercy to them. Because Qin Ting had sold his shares, he still had a sum of money. Even if it wasn't enough for him to reach the sky in one step, at least he could start over. With this sum of money, it wouldn't be so difficult. As long as no one went against him, he thought it would be very easy to stand up again. Tang Guo had already promised not to make a move on him. He believed in this. Although he knew that it wouldn't be easy to stand up again, many people wanted to see him become a joke. But he really didn't expect that in this city, it would be so difficult for him. The new company's location was chosen, and just as they were about to sign the contract the next day, the other party didn't agree. Just looking for a new location made him busy for a month. In the end, he chose a location that wasn't very good. After that, the company was established again. It was very small, and there were less than 10 employees including him. But it wasn't easy to start from a small company. Moreover, there were many people who didn't want him to stand up again. In the first month, he made a loss. In the second month, he made a loss. In the third month, he still didn't get many business deals. Seeing that his money was getting less and less, if this continued, he was afraid that he wouldn't even be able to pay his employees a year later. Qin Ting felt a sense of powerlessness. He was very dispirited. Another half a year passed. Qin Ting seemed to have aged by more than 10 years. He didn't have the charm and high-spirited like before. His eyes became cloudy and his face was always gloomy. He looked like he didn't want anyone to get close to him. His temper was getting worse and worse. If there was a slight problem, he would scold his employees as trash. Gradually, the people in the company resigned. Finally, after a year, Enchanting's money was used up and the company was forced to close down. He returned home dispiritedly and drank until he was dead drunk. Bai Ruyu came back from work and had to pick up Bai Yanji to go to the market to buy groceries to cook. Looking at Enchanting's appearance, she could still bear with it for a day or two. She understood his helplessness. But after a month or two, Enchanting was drunk at home every day. He didn't work, didn't do any housework, and wasn't even willing to pick up his child. The man who was originally full of charm and made her lose her heart, she unknowingly became impatient with him. Other than drinking, he did not do anything else. He was not even willing to pass her a dish. He was like an old man every day. One day, she had to work overtime and called Enchanting to pick up Bai Yanji. In the end, when she went back, she found that Enchanting, who had promised her before, was actually drunk on the sofa, and Bai Yanji did not come back at all. Because of this, she had a huge argument with Enchanting, which ended with Bai Yanji returning by himself. Later, Bai Yanji said that he could come back on his own without her picking him up. Bai Ruyu was comforted, thinking that her son was sensible. Later on, she couldn't afford Bai Yanji's tuition fees alone. In addition, Bai Yanji's performance in the school for geniuses wasn't good. When she requested to transfer schools, the school readily agreed. This school did not lack geniuses, and Bai Yanji's performance had disappointed them, which was why they agreed so quickly. In addition, they had received instructions from certain people and did not intend to properly nurture Bai Yanji. This was exactly what they wanted. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for a confidant vertex. Chapter 2288. Actually, Bai Yanji was the one who suggested transferring schools to Bai Ruyu. There were two reasons why she agreed. Firstly, she really couldn't afford it. Secondly, Bai Yanji had been very sensible recently. She believed that her son would be outstanding even if he went to an ordinary school. Enchanting's appearance made her disheartened, so she spent all her efforts on Bai Yanji. How would she know that after transferring to an ordinary school, Bai Yanji's results were not bad? But every afternoon, he would skip class and go to the internet cafe to play. Bai Ruyu didn't allow him to play computer games, so he had no choice but to go to the internet cafe. Bai Ruyu didn't know that Bai Yanji had made many friends and their relationship was quite good. The older Bai Yanji got, the more he hated Enchanting. Later on, Bai Yanji skipped class too many times. Even though his results didn't drop, it still made the school very angry. The class teacher had no choice but to call Bai Ruyu and tell her everything. When Bai Ruyu found out that Bai Yanji skipped class once every 2 days for half a day, she was furious. She didn't ask anything and directly gave Bai Yanji a beating in front of the teacher, scolding him for being a disappointment. After being beaten in front of everyone, Bai Yanji's resentment towards Bai Ruyu reached its peak. After this incident, Bai Yanji didn't change at all. Not only did he skip class, he didn't even study anymore. He just wanted to go against Bai Ruyu. Bai Ruyu wanted him to be outstanding, but he wanted to fail. Bai Ruyu wanted him to study hard, but he didn't. He skipped class to hang out with people outside, went to bars, smoked, fell in love early, and did all the things that a rebellious child shouldn't do. Gradually, he really liked this kind of life. Bai Ruyu was disheartened when she saw the drunk and useless Enchanting. Bai Yanji was a child that she had raised single-handedly. He hadn't called her mother for a long time and wasn't as obedient as before. Bai Ruyu felt despair. There were many times when she wondered if this was retribution. She was the one who destroyed other people's relationships, which led to her current situation. If she hadn't messed up the wedding that day, all of this wouldn't have happened. Would she still be the same as before? Until now, she had to admit that when Bai Yanji was sick and wanted to see her father, she went to look for Enchanting without any hesitation and did not hesitate to disturb his wedding. It was all because of her selfishness. Actually, in her heart, she hoped that Enchanting would not get married. Then, she succeeded. She stared blankly at Enchanting, who was drunk and eating, and her expression became even more numb. She raised her head and looked at the door. Bai Yanji was not back yet. That night, Bai Yanji did not return. This was not normal. No matter how disobedient Bai Yanji was, he would still go home every day. In the morning, Bai Yanji still did not return. Bai Ruyue was so anxious that she immediately called the company to ask for leave. Just as she was about to look for Bai Yanji, she received a call from the police station. When they arrived at the police station, they saw a familiar person there. The beautiful woman holding the white cat and sitting in the wheelchair, whose face seemed to be the same for 10 years and who did not know the passage of time, was none other than Tang Guo. Bai Ruyue subconsciously touched her face. From the reflection of the glass, she could see that her face was old and pale. It was no longer young and beautiful. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2289. A familiar sense of inferiority rose in Bai Ruyue's heart. In front of this woman, she was like a rat that could only move around in the sewers. She could only look for food in the trash at night. If she moved around during the day, she would be beaten up by everyone. She couldn't be exposed. She couldn't be exposed. Her identity couldn't be exposed. Yanji, how are you? Bai Ruyue quickly saw Bai Yanji being handcuffed. She was extremely anxious. Looking at the beautiful woman next to her, who didn't say a word, but still maintained a smile on her face. Her intuition told her that this matter is likely related to Tang Guo. She subconsciously felt that Tang Guo wouldn't let Bai Yanji off. Her heart raced as she tried to think of a way to let Bai Yanji return home safely with her. Tang, Bai Yanji and a group of youths came to the parking lot of my company and smashed my car. Tang Guo was the first to speak. She signaled Su Qing to show Bai Ruyue her phone. Bai Ruyue took the phone and saw Bai Yanji's excited smile as he smashed a brick at a luxurious car. She covered her mouth and screamed. Yanji, how can you do this? Why are you so disobedient and insensible? Mother works hard and wants you to study well. Why do you always cause trouble for mother? Bai Yanji pursed his lips and didn't say a word. Actually, after smashing the car, he suddenly regretted it. He had already thought that if Bai Ruyue came later, he would apologize and think of a way to compensate her. He didn't expect that Bai Ruyue would scold him for being insensible and always causing trouble for her. He didn't know when it started, but Bai Ruyue always said that he was insensible and always causing trouble for her. She wanted him to learn well and become outstanding. There were two reasons why he had taken the initiative to transfer out of the genius school. First, he felt that the school no longer valued him. Many students even ostracized him because of his identity. They despised his identity. It was that man, Enchanting, that made his identity shameful. Second, he saw how hard it was for Bai Ruyue. Going to a normal school wouldn't cost so much. After going to a normal school, he would return home late and skip classes to go to the internet cafe. He was actually thinking of ways to earn money. He didn't dare to use the previous method of transferring money as he was afraid Bai Ruyue would be angry. Thus, he became a substitute player for a certain large-scale game. As for his studies, he did not fall behind. He planned to save up 100,000 to give Bai Ruyu a surprise. However, his class teacher reported him to Bai Ruyu for skipping classes. In the end, she came to school and scolded him without even asking. She even slapped him and humiliated him. As for the previous plan, it had long been put aside. This time, she was also impulsive. When she passed by Tangua's company with a few friends, she couldn't help but pick up a brick and smash her car door. He originally thought that this woman would not let him off, or even ridicule him, or ask her tall bodyguards to torture him. Even if he secretly killed him, no one would find out anything. But she didn't. She directly called the police and didn't scold him. She only said lightly, "You're still underage. All the mistakes you've made are your guardian's fault. Your guardian will take full responsibility for my losses." At that time, Bai Yanji really regretted it. He wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2290. He could hear Bai Ruyu's sobbing scolding. She was scolding him for being insensible, disappointing, and embarrassing her. In the end, Bai Ruyu was so angry that she said, "If I knew you would cause so much trouble for me, I wouldn't have given birth to you. If I had aborted you, there wouldn't have been so much trouble." After saying that, Bai Yanji's young face was expressionless as he lowered his head. The police officer at the side quickly stopped Bai Ruyu and advised, "Madam Bai, this child needs to be taught slowly. You can't just scold him. When a child makes a mistake, it's mostly because the parents don't pay attention and guide them properly. When you go back, you should communicate with the child. I believe he will correct his mistakes." "Madam Bai," Bai Yanji smashed Miss Tang's car. "Do you want to settle this privately or go through other procedures?" Bai Ruyu finally came back to her senses. It was impossible for her not to love her son. Her previous complaints were only because she was too angry. No matter how much she complained, he was still her son. Once the anger in her heart subsided, how could she not care about him? This was her only son. What she said just now was just out of anger. Thus, Bai Ruyu didn't hesitate and chose to compensate Tangua. Tangua didn't make things difficult for her and let her slowly return the money. Then, she heard Bai Ruyu repeatedly telling Bai Yanji to be obedient and sensible and not cause trouble for her. Bai Yanji didn't say a word. He only lowered his head. She didn't know if he heard it. Tangua didn't expect Bai Yanji to be so talented to be able to reach this stage. She looked at Bai Ruyu's loving appearance. The mother and son didn't interact much. It was normal for Bai Yanji to become like this. She wasn't interested in teaching others how to discipline their son. She left after giving the statement. Bai Ruyu chased after her. "I will return the money to you as soon as possible. No rush." Tangua turned around and replied, "It's fine as long as you remember. It's all because of Yanji. This child is insensible. I will scold him when I get back. You can't be blamed for what happened between us." Bai Ruyu felt more relaxed after she said some things. Her face was pale as she said, "I am the one who interfered. I don't care about that anymore." Tangua replied lightly, "After all, I've already chased Qin Ting out of the Tang family. He came here with nothing, and I told him to get lost with nothing." Bai Ruyu's lips moved, but she didn't know what to say. This woman's words were gentle, but her words were ruthless. She was indeed the young miss of a wealthy family. She chased people away just like that. After Bai Ruyu returned, she looked at the drunk Qin Ting and thought of her terrible life. She clenched her teeth and shook Qin Ting awake. "What is it?" Qin Ting said drunkenly. At this time, he was slovenly and was no different from an ordinary middle-aged man. He also didn't have any charm. Bai Ruoye finally said, "Let's get a divorce." As soon as he said this, Enchanting sobered up a little. She stared at Bai Ruoye for a minute before murmuring, "Divorce? Yes, let's get a divorce." Bai Ruoye thought to herself, "This man is useless. What can I do with him? I might as well divorce him and chase him out. Then I can take care of my son and live by myself." If it wasn't for this man, her son wouldn't have become like this. It was all because of this man's greed. He wanted the Tang family's property and his own bloodline. In the end, the matter was exposed and he was chased out by Miss Tang. I want to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Chat about life, find a confidant peak. Chapter 2291. A young lady from a rich family would definitely be smart. She could clearly see through Enchanting's schemes. So, why did she feel that this man was good? She didn't even hesitate to be someone who interfered with other people's relationships and ruined their wedding. When Bai Ruoye saw Enchanting smile, she couldn't make up her mind. Then, Enchanting took a sip of wine from the wine bottle beside him and muttered, "In your dreams. Enchanting, wake up. Let's get a divorce. Our son and I don't need you to support us." Bai Ruoye was anxious. "I won't." When Enchanting saw the disgust in Bai Ruoye's eyes, he sneered in his heart. As expected, women who could be bought off with money weren't good people. Now that he had nothing, she actually wanted to divorce him. Don't think that he didn't see it. Didn't she look for him during their wedding because she was hoping for a fluke? This was something he figured out later on. This woman who looked like a little white rabbit also had her own schemes. If his son wanted to see him, he didn't need to be in such a hurry to make him delay the wedding. If Enchanting didn't want a divorce, Bai Ruoye couldn't do anything. She could only pass her days like this. When Bai Yanji returned, the family of three didn't get along well. Bai Ruoye had to repay her debts every month. The family standard was getting worse and worse. Although Bai Yanji was annoyed with Bai Ruoye, she was still his mother. Seeing how tired she was, he decided to get some money to repay her debts. Helping others to level up the game was too slow and he couldn't transfer the money directly. In the end, he chose a method he used when he was young. He used a loophole in the lottery system. He bought a lottery ticket himself. When the system screened the tickets, he did something and successfully won a few 100,000 yuan. Bai Ruoye thought that Bai Yanji was lucky and even praised him a few times. Then, she paid back the money she owed. Afterward, Bai Yanji felt that this method was useful. From time to time, he would buy lottery tickets and also ask Bai Ruoye to buy them together. They didn't win a lot of money and they didn't buy the same type of tickets. For a while, no one found out anything. But what would come would come. One day, the police came and arrested Bai Yanji. Bai Ruoye chased after him. She said that Bai Yanji wouldn't do anything illegal and that they must have arrested the wrong person. When the police showed her concrete evidence, Bai Ruoye. She always won the lottery. Didn't she know that there would be a problem? She clearly knew what Bai Yanji was capable of, so why didn't she doubt him at all? She was just lucky that no one would find out about it. She had always asked Bai Yanji to be obedient, but she had never taught him that there were some things that he should not touch. If he made a mistake, she would only scold him for being insensible. But he had never taught him how to be a person or how to walk the path of life. Bai Yanji found a shortcut. He used the loophole in the lottery system to earn some money from time to time to improve his family's condition. Bai Ruoye's heart clenched. She thought that no one would find out, but she ended up ruining Bai Yanji's life. After Bai Yanji was sentenced, the mother and son met. Bai Ruyu held the microphone and looked at Bai Yanji with reddened eyes. She instructed, Yanji, perform well inside. Mother will wait for you outside. You have to be obedient and don't cause any trouble, understand? Bai Yanji looked up at her. Holding the microphone, he said coldly, why haven't you ever asked why we always win the lottery? Why don't you do what you did a long time ago? Why don't you stop me and tear the lottery ticket into pieces and warn me not to do it again? Yanji. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting lead, calm down. Talk about life, find a confidant, peak. Chapter 2292. He's in jail. After hearing the news of Bai Yanji's imprisonment, Tang Guo only repeated the sentence softly. She was both surprised and not surprised by this result. And Bai Ruyu blamed everything on Qin Ting. Every 2 days, she would fight with Qin Ting. The people around them laughed at them every day. When they heard that she wanted a divorce, Qin Ting refused to. It seemed like he wanted to drag her down for the rest of his life. When they fought, he also blamed her. He said that if it wasn't for her, he wouldn't be in such dire straits today. Anyway, they blamed each other. All kinds of nasty words came out. I really didn't expect this. Su Qing whispered to Tang Guo about what had happened outside. From the beginning to the end, the two of them didn't reflect on themselves. Wasn't this tragedy caused by themselves? Tang Guo was speechless. She couldn't help but sigh. It's not that they didn't think about it, but they didn't want to think too deeply about it. If the ending was different, they would definitely sigh. Luckily, they fought for it back then. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to live such a happy life today. Su Qing didn't understand. Tang Guo leaned back in her chair and hugged the obedient white cat. She raised her head and allowed the warm sunlight to shine on her face. She said softly, you said that if my father didn't meet Master Hui Guang, he wouldn't be in this world anymore. Qin Ting would have married me. Maybe his plan would have succeeded and he would have adopted his son under my name. I would have definitely found out something was wrong and lost my mind. I would have targeted this child and Bai Ruyu. Then, I would have been that evil character. Bai Ruyu originally didn't want to meet Qin Ting for the sake of her child's future. However, a vicious woman like me didn't treat her son well. She had no choice but to stand out and take her son away. Qin Ting would have thought that I was being unreasonable and would have gradually sided with the mother and son. In the end, I would have been kicked out and the three of them would have lived happily together. Su Qing was dumbfounded. Why was this plot so melodramatic? But when she thought about it carefully, if her father had really died many years ago and the company was under Qin Ting's control, all of this might have happened. When she thought about it carefully, it was really terrifying. In any case, Qin Ting was not a good person. One day, Tang Guo opened her eyes in the garden, stroked the white cat in her arms, and asked Su Qing, I remember something. Where did Chui go? A few years ago, he would appear in front of Dad and me from time to time, but I haven't seen him in the past 2 years. At this time, the white cat also pricked up its ears, intending to listen. Yes, where did that Chui guy go? Why didn't he appear in front of her? Did he die in a car accident? Seeing that Su Qing didn't know, Tang Guo planned to send someone to investigate. After all, that Chui guy seemed to know a lot of things. In the end, when she found out that Chui had been sent to a mental hospital, she was still a little stunned. However, she found out that it was Tang Yunfeng's doing. She brought the white cat to the mountain to ask Tang Yunfeng about the situation. At this time, Tang Yunfeng was playing chess with Master Hui Guang under the tree. When he saw her, he was very happy and hurriedly asked someone to go in and make some flower tea for her. "What brings you here today? Are you planning to stay here for 2 days?" Tang Yunfeng was already used to this place, but he would still go back for a few days every month. "Dad, let me ask you something. That Chui guy is now in a mental hospital. Did you do it?" She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant, peak. Chapter 2293. Tang Yunfeng was stunned for a moment, then nodded with a smile. "Yes, I always felt that this guy was up to no good, so I sent someone to investigate. I really did find something wrong." In short, Tang Yunfeng believed in ghosts and gods because of his own experience. Therefore, Chui Yan didn't act like the same person. He thought that the other party might have been possessed by some evil spirit. But he couldn't spread superstitions. Only Chui Yan's family knew the truth. When they found out that their son had been possessed by an evil spirit, they sent him to a mental hospital without hesitation. After hearing this, Tang Gua observed a moment of silence for Chui Yan. She rested her chin on the white cat's head and asked softly, "Are you happy?" Meow meow. Many years later, Tang Gua left this world. Su Qing was still wondering why Tang Gua didn't ask them to take good care of Qiuqiu when she donated all her assets. When she turned around and returned to the side of Tang Gua's body, she saw Qiuqiu's cold body lying in Tang Gua's arms. On his back, there was a small note in Tang Gua's handwriting. "Let us all be cremated together." Su Qing, who was already an old man, gave the order with tears in his eyes. This cat was more sentimental and loyal than humans. No wonder Miss brought Qiuqiu with her wherever she went. She never left out even once. When Tang Guo left this world, the person trapped in the mental hospital was also released. His soul left the shackles of Chui Yan's body. He looked angrily at the space-time tunnel and was so angry that he almost exploded. In the end, he couldn't help but curse. To hell with the evil spirit invasion. These mortals are all sick in the head. Why are they so nosy? Just as he was about to leave through the space-time tunnel, he couldn't move at all. His expression changed. An inescapable trap. He tried for a long time, but still couldn't break out. His face was as black as the bottom of a pot. "Ah, Gua, Gua, you tricked me. You knew I wasn't him." He endured the disgust and imitated that fellow for so many years. It turned out that she was looking at him like a monkey. When he thought about how she brought that cat with her everywhere, his expression became uglier. Not only did she know that he was an imposter, she also knew that fellow possessed the cat's body. It seemed that he had to change his strategy. He could only use other methods to be with her in the small world. Damn it! The inescapable snare formation was not that easy to break. She must have guessed that he must have a way to escape. Without even asking him anything, she directly set up an inescapable snare formation outside this small world to trap him. By the time he broke out, he didn't know how many worlds she and that person would be sick of each other. He could not use the method of exhausting his soul to escape. After all, this was not a matter of life and death. He could only grit his teeth and break the array first. Tang Guo felt that her surroundings were dark. Not only was it dark, but it was also very cold and very humid. She could vaguely see a little bit of light from one of the vents, but she couldn't tell if it was day or night. The light was too weak to determine whether it was a lamp or sunlight. She was in pain all over. Her body hurt, her hands hurt, her legs hurt, and even her stomach hurt. It should be said that every piece of skin and every vein on her body was announcing that her body was in a terrible state. The surroundings were damp and cold, but her forehead was burning hot. She must be sick and running a fever. His throat was so dry that it was about to emit smoke. His body didn't have the slightest bit of strength. He couldn't even move his fingers. The environment was terrible. She touched the painful area and found that there was no wound at all. But it still hurt. I want to chat with more like-minded people about. Chapter 2294. Her wet hair stuck to her neck, making her very uncomfortable. The system scanned Tang's physical condition and was a little anxious. "Dear host, what medicine do you need?" "I'll get it for you." "Fever medicine, I guess." She hadn't figured out the situation yet and hadn't received the memories yet. Even if she had countless trump cards, she didn't want to do something that would shock the world. She should be having a high fever now. Judging from the degree of dizziness in her head, it was a very serious one. If she wasn't sent for treatment now and dragged on for half a day or a day, the fever might develop into pneumonia and she might even die. She didn't know what this body had encountered. Stronger fever medicine. Understood. After taking the antipyretic medicine, an hour later, Tangguo felt that her forehead was no longer burning. Her head was no longer so dizzy. The system had scanned the room just now. There were no cameras in this room, and the furnishings were still modern. She got a glass of water and drank it. She felt much better, but she still didn't have much strength. She could only lean against the corner of the wall weakly. Receive the memories. She had to figure out the current situation first before planning what to do next. Countless memories flooded into her brain. Perhaps it was because this body's condition wasn't very good, coupled with the weight of the memories, she couldn't help but frown. She was currently in a school for Internet addiction rehabilitation. School for Internet addiction rehabilitation. Basically, anyone who knew a little about the Internet would know of the existence of this school. The School for Internet Addiction Rehabilitation had been in trouble many times and had been on the hot search news countless times. In the end, it didn't stop. On the contrary, it took root everywhere. However, despite so many incidents, countless parents still didn't seem to know the extent of its ferocity. They were willing to spend a lot of money to send their children to this school to get rid of internet addiction. The children who were sent to this school, even if they were released in the end, would never be able to erase the pain they had experienced. What they hated the most wasn't this school, but their parents who destroyed their independent personality and sent them to this demonic prison. Because of their control, the elders didn't allow their children to be controlled by Feng Bo and sent them to this demon-like school to be educated and taught. In the eyes of the elders, they didn't need to have their own ideas or freedom. No matter what they did or said, they had to go along with them. This was what a good child should be like. Any slight disobedience would be seen as disobedient and unfilial. Instead of sending them here to quit the internet, it was better to say that they wanted an obedient child who was like a pet, not a puppet. They would be able to manipulate him as they wished, and he would not refute them, satisfying their desire for control. When the children leave this place, they will help spread the benefits of this kind of school. More and more parents are willing to send their children to this kind of school. Because they did not have time to discipline their children, they would rather spend some money to hire someone to help them discipline their children. If the children were raised to be useless in their eyes, then they could be sent to the school to be managed. The school would guarantee that they would be taught to be obedient and sensible. It was just that under the surface of being obedient and sensible, there was a heart that had long been hurt to the point of being devastated. They didn't have time to understand these things, as long as the child was obedient. The original owner was sent to this school by her parents to get rid of her internet addiction. Now she was locked up in a small dark room. She must have been caught when she escaped and was punished with electric shocks. She was also splashed with cold water, which caused her to catch a cold and have a high fever. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for a confidant vertex. Chapter 2295. The original owner was sent here last month. She was quite smart. As someone who liked to surf the internet, she had heard a lot about the school. She knew that if she resisted immediately, it would be useless. Even if she was beaten here, she wouldn't be able to find anyone to complain to. She decided to be obedient and find a chance to escape. After waiting for almost a month, she found an opportunity yesterday. Because she was obedient and didn't make any mistakes, she was rarely punished. At most, she was punished to stand. After all, this place was very strict. The slightest mistake could cause the perverted teachers to admit their mistakes. She lived in a room with 8 people, and she had a good relationship with 2 of the girls. Before she decided to escape, she found a chance to tell the 2 girls her plan. She also said that if she really escaped, she would find someone to save them. The original owner, who had just arrived at this school, didn't know that she had no friends here. Even if she wanted to escape, no one would reveal their thoughts. At least on the surface, they would be respectful and express their willingness to accept education. They wouldn't escape. Because there were too many people who wanted to escape, none of them succeeded. Those who were caught all received the most severe punishment. They were afraid. Those who were more timid didn't dare to resist at all. Those who were braver suffered more and didn't dare to resist. Also, if someone in the same dorm ran away, they would be held responsible. The school administrator would viciously say that if her roommate didn't look after her, she wouldn't have had the chance to escape. Therefore, she would also receive severe punishment. The original owner was familiar with these 2 girls. One was called He Xinyue, and the other was called Su Xiaolan. She told them about her plan and asked them if they were willing to run with her. Both of them refused, and the original owner didn't force them. Yesterday, when she had the chance to go to the convenience store across the street to buy things, she decisively escaped while no one was paying attention. Because her performance was better, the school was less guarded. Although she knew that this school was very far from the city and was on a hillside. But after a month, she couldn't stand living here anymore. She had to go out and expose everything here to save the people who were in the same situation as her. Unfortunately, she failed. The reason why she failed so quickly was because the administrator asked her where she had gone during roll call. Su Xiaolan was very timid, and upon thinking that she would be punished, she directly said that the original owner had escaped. Not long after, the original owner was captured and severely punished. In the end, she fainted and was awakened by a splash of cold water. She was locked in this dark little room, commonly known as the Little Black Room. He had not been able to eat well here, and his mental state had always been tense. Yesterday, he had even fainted from the electric shock and was splashed with cold water and thrown here. Eventually, she fell ill with a fever. They planned to lock her up for 72 hours, which was 3 days. During this period, he would only pass her a bowl of water through the small window at the door every day. Other than that, there was nothing else. She couldn't get the best treatment here. On the 2nd day, the people outside also realized that something was wrong. He quickly opened the door and sent her to the hospital for emergency treatment. In the end, she was lucky enough to escape with her life. She originally thought that after experiencing so much, her parents would take her back. Little did she know that the people at school had told her parents that she wanted to run away. When her parents heard this, they immediately dismissed the idea of bringing her back. They wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talk about life, find a confidant, the peak. Chapter 2296. She was sent to this school again. She didn't know if it was because of the high fever previously, but her brain seemed to be a little slow. When she woke up previously, she didn't make much of a fuss. Everyone thought that she had suffered and was temporarily obedient, so they didn't think too much about it. The doctor originally instructed her to stay in the hospital for more observation, but her parents were afraid that she would take the opportunity to run away. She was fetched out after she recovered, and she didn't resist during this period. After returning to school, she was very obedient. The school and her parents thought that she had suffered and knew how to be obedient. Now, she was sensible. In reality, the original owner's brain was damaged because of that high fever. In addition to the previous encounter, she was traumatized. There were many things that she couldn't turn around. As for the thought of running away, she didn't have it anymore. She was no longer as smart as before and was only very obedient. The school was worry-free, and her parents also felt that it was worry-free. After this time, she was never punished again. Everyone thought that she was afraid. After all, the people here were all gloomy and lifeless. Who would have thought that her brain was damaged? She could understand and was very obedient, but she might not know how to take the initiative to do something. Under the management of such a school, there was nothing to discover. What they wanted was for these children to do whatever they taught. Of course, she was not the main character of this world. The female lead of this world only appeared here after she was hospitalized and returned to school. The female lead's name was Fong Yilu. She studied medicine and came to this school for an internship. The male lead came a week later. His name was Lu Qian, and he was a genius esports player. He was already in his second year of high school today, but he had already achieved excellent results in esports. For this, he even set up a team. Their parents were very worried about this and accidentally found out about the internet addiction school. Why playing games every day would destroy their son, so they tricked Lu Qian here to quit the internet. In the end, the male lead, Lu Qian, and the female lead, Fong Yilu, worked together to fight with the people from the internet addiction school. They successfully escaped, exposed this place, and obtained freedom. Then, they worked together to face all sorts of difficulties and finally achieved success in their respective fields. Meanwhile, the male lead's parents also came to their senses and started to support the male lead. It was a happy ending. However, the original owner wasn't so lucky. Her experience was a stark contrast to the ending of the male and female leads. When she went out, her parents were very satisfied with her well-behaved and obedient manner. When the Jidong school was exposed, they also scolded the male and female protagonists, saying that they were meddling in other people's business. People who couldn't bear to see other people doing well should go to hell. In short, their scolding was very unpleasant. The host was originally a talent streamer and was about to enter her second year. When she first entered university, she became a streamer. Even if she was at home during the holidays, she would still broadcast on time. On the internet, he was quite famous and liked by many people. Her rigid and stubborn parents had always been very opposed to such a new industry. They thought that their daughter was doing immoral things. Every day, she would flirt with the camera and it was very embarrassing for them. Moreover, ever since she became this troublesome anchor, her daughter had become more and more disobedient. They had been immersed in how obedient their daughter used to be and blamed everything on the live stream. Later, she accidentally found out about the school. When the original owner came back during the summer vacation, they tricked her into going to this school under the pretext of going up the mountain to worship Buddha. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talk about life, find a confidant, peak. Chapter 2297. They handed over a large sum of money and left. They also called the school and said that she was sick and needed to take a leave of absence. As for the fans on the internet, they didn't care. Even if the original host stopped streaming, the fans couldn't really find her through the internet. If they really asked for her whereabouts, they had her phone and all her accounts. They just needed to find an excuse and say that she wouldn't stream anymore. The internet would quickly forget about her. Things were just as the original host's parents thought. When she didn't stream for a week, many fans were looking for her. When the original host's parents saw this, they logged into her account and posted a status saying that she would study hard and not stream anymore. They were afraid that people would see through them, so they used the original host's tone. The fans knew that the original host was going to be a sophomore and had said before that she would continue to take the postgraduate entrance exam. So they didn't have any doubts about the notice. They just felt that it was a pity. It wasn't easy to find a good-looking and talented streamer. She had to study hard. Although they would come back to watch her videos from time to time, no one asked her where she went. Her parents were afraid that they would be suspected, so they sent out status updates from time to time. They replied to 2 messages and slowly let people get used to her disappearance. Just like that, the original host's existence was slowly forgotten. No one knew what had happened to her. What had been a beautiful life had been ruined by her parents, who had wanted her to have a bright future. After the school was exposed, the original host's parents took her back. Although she was obedient, they didn't feel at ease letting her go back to school. In the end, they made her quit school. Then, they introduced her to a blind date. At first, the blind date was very satisfied. But when they got along, they gradually realized that something was wrong. No matter what he said, the original host was very obedient and did as he said. In the end, he told the original host's parents about this. He was already guessing that there was something wrong with the original host's brain. No matter what, no matter how beautiful the original host was, he couldn't marry a woman with a brain problem. After a few rounds, the original host's parents didn't believe it at first. But after the doctor confirmed it, they finally had to accept the reality. Their daughter's brain was damaged. It was most likely because of the high fever. At first, they blamed themselves and felt sad. Later, the original owner became as obedient as when she was young and listened to everything they said. Other than not being able to do anything on their own, they were very satisfied with how obedient they were. They suddenly realized that this was not bad. At the very least, their daughter would not refute them and would be obedient. His daughter was so beautiful, someone would definitely want her. Besides, she wasn't born with a brain problem. She was pretty, so there would definitely be people who would like her. As they wished, the original owner found someone who accepted her. In any case, they were quite satisfied. When they met, they decided that he was an honest young man who could live his life. Then the host married this man. When they got married, her parents told her that she must listen to this man. She really listened to him. After getting married, she would listen to this man in everything. At first, the man was very cautious. Later, he found that the original owner really listened to him. She would do whatever she was told. She wouldn't refuse any excessive requests. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for a confidant vertex. Chapter 2298. Gradually, many perverted thoughts appeared in his mind. Even if the original owner was in pain, she would not resist or refute. She would only silently endure it. In the end, the man became more and more violent and beat the person to death. When her parents knew the result, they subconsciously said, she must be disobedient again. Otherwise, why would she be beaten by that man? My son-in-law is an honest young man. She must have done something bad to anger him. My son-in-law must have been careless and made a mistake, resulting in this result. Because of her parents' testimony, the man took out some photos that he had the original owner take. He said that he had received such photos and made a mistake. It was all because of what she had done that made him too angry. In the end, this matter was reduced to a small matter. The man did not receive any punishment at all. Her parents were not sad about her death at all. Instead, they blamed her for not learning well. Because she used to be a broadcaster, they believed that she had done something wrong. They even felt guilty towards that man because of this. After her death, she even left her assets to him. That man knew that the two of them were easy to fool. He only needed to say a few good words to coax them. Without doing anything, he swindled a large amount of family assets. Naturally, he lived a carefree life and was happy. And the original owner had suffered a lot in her life. In the end, her parents were still helping the person who beat her to death. Even after her death, she still had a bad reputation. If she was smart, who knew how she would feel? Although there was no way to know whether the original owner was angry or not, Tanguy, who received the memories, was not very happy. The actions of these parents made her want to destroy the world. Since it would not be long before people found out that she was seriously ill. She did not plan to continue taking medicine. She did not want to eat anymore. Seeing her dying appearance, the school should send her to the hospital according to the plot. Host, do you plan to go out first and then find a way to expose this school? No. Tanguy leaned against a damp corner. Her body was still wet. This feeling was not good, but she could not make herself look good now. Because she wanted to see her parents. As for going out, she didn't plan to go out for the time being. Her parents weren't the only ones who made the original owner's life miserable. As for the administrators of this school, none of them could escape. Since she was sent here, let's see if she won't turn the world upside down. She seemed to have thought of something as a smile flashed across her face. The system could only hear her mumbling to herself, other than being a prospective sophomore, I also have a side job as a talent streamer. I'm afraid I can't be a talent streamer with my current appearance. It's still not bad to be a practical streamer. The system felt a chill run down its spine. Tongzi, I'll need your help this time. After all, she had nothing now, although she could find things like mobile phones and computers in the system space. But none of these things were as useful as the system. When the system heard that it was going to be of use, it was very happy. Host, what do you want me to do for you? Go to the biggest streaming platform and set up an account for me. You can't use my identity. That's not a problem for you. The live stream definitely can't show me. Let's just show everything that's happening in this school. I won't show my face, but my voice needs to be processed. She was not worried about this. The system could totally do it. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talk about life, find a confidant, peak. Chapter 2299. The system followed Tangwa's instructions and chose the world's largest live stream platform. It created an account with a virtual identity and created a live stream room. Then, he asked Tangwa about it again when they were deciding on a name. Tangwa pondered for a while and said, let's call it Today's Highlights. The system would have laughed like crazy if it weren't for the fact that it wasn't the right place. Today's Highlights was really naughty. In the end, it followed her instructions and named it Today's Highlights. Thinking about the things that would be broadcasted in this live stream room, wasn't it Today's Highlights? Thinking about it, it was still a little excited. This time, the host was doing something big, and she was bringing him along. He had to do a good job. When the system said that the account was created and the live stream room was opened, Tangwa said, let's announce the time of the live stream first. She already knew that it was 10:00 in the morning. Nothing big happened at the moment. Because she was severely punished for running away, it was a wake-up call for the people in school. The people who came in around the same time as her were all frightened and very obedient. So for the whole morning, almost no one caused trouble. Tangguo recalled the plot. In the afternoon, 2 newcomers would be sent in, so she asked the system to announce the time of the live stream in the afternoon. She even thought of the title. Unimaginable things are happening in places that you can't see in the world. She came up with the title casually. In 2 days, this live stream room would definitely receive a lot of attention. There was no need for any eye-catching content to attract people. Once everyone paid attention, word of mouth, and shared with each other, this live stream room would soon become popular. For this newly opened live stream room, the host named it Today's Highlights. The title was so unattractive, so naturally, no one would watch it. Tangguo stayed in this little dark room the whole time. During this time, no one came to see her. Only in the afternoon did the small window at the door open and give her a bowl of cold water. The other party didn't open the door or speak to her. This kind of silent punishment was very cruel and scary for a girl. Even if the original owner was already 18 and was an adult. In this kind of place, not to mention an adult woman, even an adult man wouldn't be able to withstand it after staying for a long time. Until around 4:00 in the afternoon, the system woke Tangguo up. Are they here? Yes. A van stopped at the school gate. 2 teenagers were brought down from the van. They were struggling and shouting. Their hands and feet were tied and they were finally brought in. There were 2 middle-aged couples in the car behind them. They should be their parents. The system said in one breath and asked, "Dear host, should we start the live stream now? Let's broadcast." Tangguo leaned against the wall and closed her eyes, her consciousness immersed in the live broadcast interface in the system space. At this time, the live stream room was focused. Tangguo's consciousness moved, turning her spiritual force into a voice that sounded in the live broadcast room. Welcome to today's live broadcast room. Now I will show you the incident of 2 15-year-old teenagers who were tied up by their parents and sent to the school. In the camera, the 2 youths who were struggling with all their might but were unable to escape. Their faces were so red that they looked like they were about to faint from lack of oxygen. They were already in a school for internet addiction control. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Chapter 2300. Of course, only the figures of the 2 teenagers were shown in the live broadcast room. Their faces were censored. In order to protect the 2 teenagers, their parents, Tangguo, were temporarily censored by the system. As for the administrator of the school, unfortunately, there were not enough censored faces. They could only expose their true faces to the camera. They were all adults. Since they dared to do such a thing, they should not be afraid of being found out, right? Seeing that they could not escape, the 2 teenagers could only cry and shout to their parents, "Dad, Mom, why can't we talk things out? Why did you send me to this damn place? Mom, are you really going to do this to me?" The 2 parents looked at each other. One of the mothers said, "Zhou, you should receive a good education here. When you don't sit in front of the computer and indulge in the internet every day, Mom and Dad will come and take you back." "Mom, I promise you now. I won't sit in front of the computer every day in the future, okay? Let me go back." Chen Zhou already knew that things were not going well. His parents actually wanted to send him to an anti-internet school. This was something that could only happen in the news. He really did not expect it to happen to him one day. The mother hesitated for a moment. In the end, she was pulled by the middle-aged man beside her. Don't listen to this kid's flowery words. How many times has he lied to us? He said that he's not addicted to the internet. If we're not careful, he'll go online again. Last time, I smashed his computer. I don't know where he got the money to buy a laptop and secretly hid it to play. If you didn't clean up the room and find out, I don't know how long he would hide it. This kid is full of lies. Don't believe him. Let him receive an education here. You're right. This school has a good reputation. The children who leave here are well behaved. They don't indulge in the internet anymore and respect their parents. Let's let Ajo stay here for a while. The other teenager, Ding Kuan, could not help but shout at his parents to let him out. He would not touch the computer in the future. In the end, his parents still did not agree. In the end, Ding Kuan was so angry that he yelled at them. His father walked over and slapped him twice. At the same time, he said to the school administrator, "This kid is disobedient. Teacher, you must teach him well. You must teach him a lesson so that he will remember." Under the desperate eyes of the two teenagers, the parents drove away without any intention of looking back. The staff brought the two teenagers in and untied them. Then, they turned around and ran. The few managers were already used to it. They directly hit their knees with a stick, causing them to bend over in pain. They no longer had the ability to run away. Thus, the camera was focused on the two teenagers. Although their faces could not be seen, everything that had happened earlier was very realistic. The few viewers who were watching the live stream began to discuss it. Isn't this acting too realistic? That's right. The two youths instantly screamed when the stick hit them. Their acting skills are so good. Are they preparing to debut? Are all streamers these days so willing to do anything for the sake of popularity? However, the content is quite fresh. It's actually about the school. I just saw it and it's quite interesting. There were more and more people in the live broadcast room. For the time being, everyone thought that this was rehearsed by the host. She wanted to talk about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down, with more like-minded people. Talking about life, looking for a confidant vertex. Chapter 2301. Ding Kuan and Chen Zhou were locked in a sealed room. Because they were disobedient when they first came in, the school administrator planned to give them a warning and starve them for a day or two. When the two of them were obedient, they would be released for class and educated properly. As for the damage caused by the two sticks hitting their knees just now, they did not care at all. As long as they did not die, these half-grown boys had a good recovery ability. They would be fine in a few days. What was the point of treatment? If they were not in pain, would they be obedient in school? They were shouldering a heavy responsibility. They had to teach them to be obedient before they could return them to their parents. The live stream was very quiet. Ding Kuan and Chen Zhou sat in the empty room with their heads buried. There was nothing around them except for the walls that restricted their freedom. Tanghua had not spoken since the beginning of the live stream except for the words she spoke at the beginning. At this point, everyone basically did not mind if the live stream host spoke or not. That was because some people already felt that something was not right. Even though the faces of the two teenagers could not be seen, they could feel their pain through the images on the screen and their cries. After some time, Ding Kuan and Chen Zhou rolled up their trousers. Their knees were exposed, and the live stream even gave a close-up of their knees. Their kneecaps were already bruised and there were faint signs of swelling. It looks very realistic. Could this be done? It doesn't look like it. Every hair and pore can be seen clearly. Also, look carefully. This live stream does not have any beauty filter turned on. But if it's not an act, who is doing the live stream and filming their situation? Yes, if someone is filming them, wouldn't they have noticed? And those people just now, wouldn't they have noticed? Oh right, I noticed something. Why are these two teenagers and their parents pixelated, but the others are not? Livestream, are you there? This should be the livestream host with the most beautiful presence. Didn't she do this program to attract attention? Why didn't she say anything at the beginning? Is there a livestream host here? This was a viewer who came in later. Host, can you explain how you can make the scene so realistic? Host, are you really going to do this to these two teenagers just to become famous? Looking at their age, they don't look old. They look like minors. Do you know that it's illegal to hurt and abuse minors? At this moment, Tangwa spoke up, I didn't hurt a minor. Right now, you're hurting minors. Your actors are acting in this kind of scene. According to what I saw, their knees are really injured and it's very serious. I think that under such circumstances, you should stop the broadcast and send them to the hospital for treatment. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't do this kind of thing for the sake of fame. You'll be banned. Tangwa was not angry at all in the face of the criticism in the live broadcast room. She said calmly, it's not an act. It's real. The people who hurt them are the people of this school and their parents. I'm just someone who wants to live stream everything for you to see. You're lying. If it's true, why did you do a live broadcast? Why didn't they find out? At this moment, Tangwa was speechless. She didn't explain the problem. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant peak. Chapter 2302. There were more and more people in the live stream room. At first, they were scolding the streamer for not caring about the injuries of minors. They even warned Tangwa that if she didn't stop, they would call the police. Call the police. It's best if you can rescue the people trapped here as soon as possible. Hearing the woman's extremely calm voice, the live broadcast room quietened down. They planned to wait and see. If it was just an act, it would be a mistake to call the police. Then, the two teenagers in the live stream room started talking. Ding Kun put down his pants. He couldn't even stand up now. Even moving would cause his knees to hurt. He had never suffered like this since he was young. When he thought about how his biological parents sent him here, he felt sad and angry. He had said many times that he wasn't addicted to the internet. He didn't know why they didn't believe him. Were you really sent here by your parents because you were addicted to the internet? Chen Zhou saw Ding Kuan's ferocious face. Ding Kuan's face was still red from being slapped by him several times. Your father is really ruthless. Ding Kuan took a deep breath. I'm not addicted to the internet. I use the computer because I have something important to do. What is it? I opened an online shop. I want to take advantage of this opportunity to earn some pocket money. When more people do it in the future, it won't be so profitable. After all, with a stepmother, there will be a stepfather. Sure enough, after my brother was born, my father didn't like me. That woman treated me well on the surface. She didn't do anything wrong, but she always sowed discord between us. My father disliked me more and more. I thought that I would have to save up for myself for the rest of my life. When I became an adult, I would move out. I didn't expect this to happen. What about you? Why? Ding Kuan asked Chen Zhou, who looked a little embarrassed. I'm more interested in computers. I accidentally found a master on the internet. He said that I was talented and wanted to teach me. At first, I used the computer at home. Later, my father found out. I was careless. I didn't expect their reaction to be so big. I often don't go out after eating. I just play with the computer at home and learn technology. My father thought that I was addicted to the internet and didn't learn well. He smashed the computer. Later, I used the money I saved to buy a computer with a good configuration and hid it in the closet. I didn't expect to be discovered by my mother, who was cleaning up my room, and then they sent me here. Chen Zhou buried his head in his arms and said in a muffled voice, "My dad is a very arbitrary person. The whole family has to listen to him. If you don't listen to him, you are not filial to him, you are not learning well. Let alone me, even my mother can't disobey him. This place is as scary as the internet says." Ding Kun looked at the empty house. There was nothing here, only a door and a window. The window was very small and was at the very top. All the light in the room came in through this small window. His eyes darkened. We have to find a way to get out as soon as possible. If we stay here for too long, we might become crippled. Chen Zhou rolled up his trousers again and stared at his bruised knees. They don't see us as humans at all. We're on the mountain. How are we going to leave? Just run away. Thinking about the previous cases, they must have been prepared. This is their territory. Not only can we not escape, but we will also suffer, which will arouse their vigilance. She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talk about life, find a confidant, the peak. Chapter 2303. You're right. Before we have a perfect plan, we can't act rashly. Both of them were extremely smart and had seen the world, so they quickly calmed down. Especially Ding Kun, the little bit of feelings he had for his father had almost disappeared. Before we think of a plan, I think we should just pretend to be obedient. Obviously, Ding Kun had more ideas. When the time comes, we'll expand our range of activities and observe the surrounding situation. There are definitely more people here than the two of us. There are countless people who want to escape. We might as well sit on the side and observe. See how those people will escape and what the chances of success are. Chen Zhou focused. Okay. Soon, he fell silent. What if the chances of escape are not high, or even none? Then. Ding Kun's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. Stay here and accept the transformation. Wait for the day when we get out. As long as I, Ding Kun, get out, I'll make the person who sent me here regret it for the rest of his life. Remember, if you don't have any confidence, you can only pretend to be obedient. No matter what happens, you can't resist. Ding Kun warned. When we get out of this room, don't trust anyone. Don't mention running to anyone, not even me. Of course, I won't trust you either. Ding Kun's words scared Chen Zhou out of his wits. Was it that serious? If you don't listen, I won't be the one to suffer. When the audience saw this scene, although they didn't know if Ding Kun was acting, they were very impressed. This young man's behavior had calmed down in such a short time. Just as they were about to ask something else, Tang Guo's voice sounded in the broadcast room. Today's broadcast ends here. See you next time. Before they could type, the screen in the broadcast room had disappeared, and the words, broadcast ended, were displayed. Originally, they wanted to find the replay, but then they realized that it seemed to have disappeared. Now that the video was gone, no one had thought of recording it before. Everyone remembered that Tang Guo said, see you next time. They hurriedly clicked follow and looked forward to the next broadcast. Next time, they had to get to the bottom of the truth. The reason why Tang Guo erased the replay was that she was afraid that the people in this school would see it. If the live broadcast wasn't enough evidence, even if the police found out, it would be easy for the school to escape. While she was doing the live broadcast, the system had already blocked the internet. Although the people in this school might not watch the live broadcast, it was better to be careful. In the next live stream, she would not film these people's plans. She would only film the evil deeds of the school administrators. The disconnection of the live stream made everyone's hearts itch. They especially hoped that Tang Guo would start her live stream immediately. Tang Guo did not plan to do that, because she would soon be found to be seriously ill and sent to the hospital. Ding Kun and Chen Zhou were both very smart. Later on, the two of them became the male and female leads people. If they followed the male lead, their futures would be bright. They were doing well, so there was no need to worry. Tang Guo didn't drink the bowl of water at the door. Because she hadn't resolved the pain in her body, she had to wait like this for more than half a day. Her forehead gradually heated up. When the people outside were about to find out that she didn't touch the bowl of water, they would probably come in to check on her. She closed her eyes and collapsed at the foot of the wall. She felt that someone was approaching. The person even touched her forehead and muttered, "Why is it so hot?" She wanted to chat with more like-minded people about transmigration, female supporting character, calm down. Talking about life, looking for a confidant, peak. Chapter 2304. Get up. The other party kicked her with quite a bit of strength. She didn't move and secretly memorized this kick. She would find a time to kick it back. The footsteps gradually stopped. Not long after, several messy footsteps were heard. Send her to the infirmary first and observe her for a night. Then she was lifted up. They were going to send her to the infirmary and let the school doctor treat her. The school doctor here was half-baked. Even if he treated her, her fever seemed to have gotten worse in the morning. Seeing that she had been unconscious for so long, the school people didn't dare to delay and carried her into the car. It seemed that they were going to send her to the hospital. "She's too weak. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Send her to the hospital first. Don't let her die. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. Even if it's not troublesome, we'll have to pay for it. If one person dies, it'll be hundreds of thousands. It's not worth it. She must be trying to lose weight and flirting on the internet. That's why her body collapsed. I heard that when her parents sent her here, they said that she sang and played in front of the camera. I guess that's the reason. Girls nowadays are really difficult to control. No wonder her parents are so worried about her. She took her parents' money and did such immoral things." An hour later, Tang Guo was lying in the hospital and was put on an intravenous drip. Because of the medical expenses, the school also informed her parents. As for how to explain that she was sick, naturally, they would say that she wanted to escape, so the school locked her up in a small room as a punishment. They didn't expect that she was so weak that she had a high fever. The school was so anxious that they sent her to the hospital early in the morning. Regarding this, the school felt very sorry. They apologized to her parents and said that they would pay for the medical expenses. When her parents heard that she ran away, they were so angry that they didn't pursue the matter. They even said that she should be locked up. As for the medical expenses, how could they let the school pay for it? In their opinion, it was their daughter who ran away. Not only did she cause trouble for the school, but she also made herself sick. Anyway, no matter what, it was her fault. Tang Guo couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. She closed her eyes and fell asleep. The feeling of being sick was really unpleasant. If she hadn't used medicine before, she might really have had a brain burn. When she attached herself to this body, she was already seriously ill. After they found out that the original owner was sick, they actually let the school doctor deal with it casually. It was equivalent to dragging on for an entire afternoon and night. It would be strange if her brain wasn't fried. The people in this school were not human. They were all heartless dogs. When she woke up, Father Tang said to her coldly, "I didn't expect you to be so insensible and dare to run away. I just paid another year's worth of tuition. In my opinion, 1 year is not enough to transform you. It's better for you to stay for another year so that you don't embarrass me. What's wrong with this child? We're all doing this for her own good. How could she run away just because she didn't live up to our expectations?" Tang Guo stared fixedly at the two of them who had been hurting her in the name of doing good for her. She said, "Dad, Mom, I'm going to start school soon. It wasn't easy for me to get into university. You have to let me go back to school." "Go back to school? You're addicted to the internet all day long and embarrass yourself in front of the camera. How can you still go to university? I've already helped you with the school's temporary suspension." Peak. Chapter 2305. You can go back to school when you've learned well and learned from your mistakes, Father Tang said firmly. Father Tang's tone was very firm. Ever since Tang Guo did a live broadcast at home during the holidays, she was inadvertently seen by a relative who came over as a guest and asked him about it. He felt that his daughter was a disgrace. But he still didn't know what his relatives would say about her. "In that case, I won't do live broadcasts anymore. I'll listen to you and go back to school." Before Mother Tang could say anything, Father Tang sneered, "Don't try to lie to us. Once you go back to school, we won't know if you're addicted to the internet or not. You even ran away. I think you're unrepentant. We have to teach you a lesson. Once you go back to school, we won't even be able to control you." Obviously, Father Tang had no intention of taking his daughter out. "Dad, do you know what I went through in there? They used a stun baton to shock me. The numbing pain was really unbearable. They even splashed cold water on me. If it weren't for their torture, I wouldn't have fallen so ill. They didn't even treat me as a human. Let me go home first, okay? If you didn't run away, would the teachers have treated you like that? I think the stun baton was to teach you a lesson. Once you know the pain, you won't dare to do the same again. In the past, your mother and I were too soft-hearted. That's why you didn't listen to us and did embarrassing things online all the time. Xiaogua, once you've recovered, you should study hard in school. Once the teachers think you're qualified, your father and I will personally come and take you out." After hearing Father Tang's words, Mother Tang was reminded of the gossip from her relatives. Moreover, her daughter didn't understand their efforts and even ran away, causing her to fall ill. When she was young, her daughter was so obedient and sensible. But, after she went to university, she became more and more disobedient and didn't listen to discipline. This made her very disappointed. She heard that a lot of young girls used the internet to flirt and attract vulgar people. In fact, there were even some shameful live broadcasts in the middle of the night. She didn't want her daughter to do such things. She was really afraid that one day, her daughter would be exposed and flirtatious. She was afraid that her relatives would see videos of her wearing little or nothing. At that time, would she still want her old face? If she transmigrated to her workplace, she would be too ashamed to stay there after spending most of her life there. After much thought, Mrs. Tang hardened her heart. No matter how much her daughter begged, she couldn't be soft-hearted this time. She had to get the school to help her daughter get rid of this bad habit so that she could be as obedient as before. Father Tang breathed a sigh of relief when Mother Tang stopped trying to persuade him. Tang Guo didn't say anything more. She used this opportunity to meet Father and Mother Tang because she had her own plans. Their own daughter had almost died from illness, yet they were still concerned about their own reputation. It was undeniable that at this time, the live streaming industry had just begun to rise. Indeed, there were many people who took advantage of the loopholes in the management of this area and did some illegal things. For example, some vulgar streamers would indeed broadcast some shameful things in the middle of the night to attract those vulgar people to watch and reward them. But most people were normal people, especially the original owner, who got involved in this industry because she had some talent. Chapter 2306. She could play several musical instruments and was good at singing. Not only did she sing for others, but she also trained herself. At the same time, she took in a few disciples from the live stream and taught them musical instruments. There were not many live streamers like her who had real skills. However, the parents of the original owner did not think so. They were more traditional people. They had been strict with the original owner since she was young. Now that they were instigated by their relatives, they thought that the original owner was a disgrace. The original owner had grown up and made her own decisions. She knew that there was nothing wrong with what she did. After seeing the world, she did not listen to her parents like before. In the eyes of Mr. and Mrs. Tang, the live stream was teaching their daughter bad things. Their daughter had been obedient since she was young. It was because of this damned live stream that she did not listen to them. When they accidentally heard about the school, they gritted their teeth and took out tens of thousands of yuan for the school fees. They did not hesitate to trick her into going. But they did not expect to ruin her life just like that. What was even more tragic was that they did not realize their mistakes. Instead, they thought that it was their daughter who had taught them. It was better for her to be stupid than to embarrass them. Perhaps they regretted it in their hearts. But how could they admit their mistakes to others? They were already stupid. They could only accept it and continue to hide it in their hearts. They stubbornly believed that it was not their fault and that it was all the internet that had harmed their daughter. It was really laughable and sad. There were always some parents in this world. Even if they were wrong, they would not find fault with themselves. Instead, they would blame this and that. For the next 3 days, Tangua did not say anything. She was very obedient. She did not plan to go out for the time being. Therefore, she did not object to being sent back to the school again after the doctor said that she was basically fine. When the school administrator saw that she was silent and obedient, he thought that she had accepted her fate and accepted the school's discipline. But in their hearts, they did not relax their watch over her. Tangua did not mind at all. She would use this obedient look to show the audience in the live stream the real life of the children in the school. Of course, it was to beat the horse. After all, she was a popular live streamer. If she really showed her face, it would not be fun. It was better to unveil the truth at the end. In this school, the girls had to change into a uniform, which was the kind of uniform from the Republic of China. She looked conservative and ladylike. Her hair had to be tied up and not let down. What's more, the most common course for girls was the 3 obedience and 4 virtues. After marrying, obey the husband. After marrying, obey the husband. After marrying, obey the wife. The teachers here would teach these girls that they were not allowed to show their faces in public and flirt. These behaviors were shameful, and in ancient times, they would even be drowned in a pig cage. Of course, most of the lessons were to teach these boys and girls how to be filial to their parents. Their parents worked hard to raise them and pay for their education. Their parents had worked so hard, but in the end, they were disobedient and disobeyed their parents in everything they did. That was unfilial. She even said that there were no parents in the world. As children, they had to listen to their parents unconditionally because their parents were the ones who gave birth to them and raised them. No matter what decision they made, it was for their own good. It was precisely because their curriculum revolved around children being filial to their parents and listening to their parents that the parents approved of it. Vertex. Chapter 2308. Now, Tangua was standing in her own seat, which happened to be leaning against the aisle. Around her, there were also rows of girls wearing school dresses from the Republic of China period sitting in an orderly manner. They realized that the faces of these girls were all mosaicked. Because they were wearing the same uniform, their hair was tied back and their faces were mosaicked. Through the screen, even if there were familiar faces, they might not recognize them. Tangua did not answer this question. Instead, she said, "Currently, the live broadcast is the situation of the girls' class in Jisher School. This time, the live broadcast will last for 5 hours. Everyone is welcome to watch." As soon as she finished speaking, Tangua opened her eyes. She still left a trace of consciousness to pay attention to the situation in the live broadcast room. Yu Hong's ferrule continued to land on her palm. The heart-wrenching pain was not unbearable. She had experienced all kinds of pain before. This was nothing. The harder Yu Hong hit her, the better it was. To repay Yu Hong, she even asked the system to give her a close-up of her face. On the screen of the live broadcast room, Yu Hong's face, which was in her 30s, was already showing signs of aging, but was still very mean, appeared in front of everyone. This time, everyone learned to be smart. They took screenshots and videos. Especially this face. They had to record it well. By now, there were already a lot of people who vaguely felt that this was not an act. However, there were many suspicious points in this live broadcast room. They did not dare to believe that this was real. Yu Hong did not know that what she was doing had already been seen by many people. After hitting Tangua's palm 10 more times, he saw that Tangua was meekly accepting the punishment and didn't resist. He felt much better in his heart, so he put away the ferrule. "Sit down and continue with the lesson." Next, Yu Hong continued to teach this group of girls about the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. She also gave various examples. In short, in this lesson, she taught that girls should obey the discipline of men. In the second half of the lesson, she emphasized on filial piety. It revolved around how to be filial to one's parents. They were not allowed to disobey their parents. Otherwise, they would be unfilial. When the audience in the live broadcast room saw this, they were about to explode. After the lesson ended, the camera turned to the sports field. On the field, there were a few students who were being punished. They didn't know how many laps they had run, but it seemed like they couldn't stand up anymore. In the end, the instructor walked over and whipped them on their backs, causing them to scream in pain. The people in the live broadcast room felt their scalps go numb when they heard the screams. At this moment, the camera was divided into 4 parts, recording what was happening in each corner of the school. Anyone who moved a little slower would be taught a lesson and punished. The viewers in the live stream covered their mouths and almost screamed. "Host, why are you only censoring the faces of these children and not the people from these schools? Could it be that he's afraid of being caught abusing a minor?" When Tangua saw the bullet screen, she said, "There's not enough mosaic. I didn't abuse a minor. Everything that happened here is real. Is it really not an act?" "No. Since you can broadcast this scene here live, why don't you just call the police and let the police catch these heartless bastards? These people's actions are really too hateful. Whether it's real or not, it's cruel to be so heavy-handed. No, I can't take it anymore. Host, I'm going to call the police." Peak. Chapter 2311. The viewers in the live stream quickly took screenshots, wanting to record all of these people and expose them. The police had already found out the location of the school. They gathered their people and were rushing there. Now, as they watched the live stream, they were anxious and wished that the car could drive faster. When they saw the office appear, they all focused their attention. "Principal, what should we do now? Now, there are photos of our people on the internet and videos of the children being punished. Someone is actually live streaming. Someone has called the police. I'm afraid the police are already here. They had come to this meeting room for a meeting because they thought that the live stream would not be able to capture it. Previously, they must have not noticed that the other party had used some black technology. Also, just now, their internet signal seemed to be down. Anyway, they had no way of going online. This was something that they had accidentally seen. Only then did they find out that someone was live streaming the school. They were so frightened that they quickly informed the principal. After the principal found out, he hurriedly called for a meeting. They did not know that Tangua had been monitoring them with the system. She was waiting for them to find out about this and cut off their internet connection. As a result, they did not know that their meeting was also being live streamed. Now, what they were saying and looking nervous would be seen by the audience and the police. The countless viewers in the live stream, as well as the police, listened quietly as the principal of the school asked them to calm down. Then, he made arrangements for the following matters. He even said that the children on the internet had their faces blurred out. Who would know who they were? Later, he would ask them to move the injured children to another place temporarily. Let the obedient children stay. As for the previous live stream, they could say that it was fake and that someone could spread rumors. Through the screen, they would not be able to find the injured children. Moreover, these children were sent by their parents. They were not forced to stay. Even if the police came, they would not be able to do anything. The principal smiled coldly and touched his chin. Also, close the school gates and don't let anyone out. The person who exposed this must be someone from the school. Once this is over, we must find this person. Then, he looked at everyone present suspiciously and shook his head gently. These people in front of him were all involved. Reporting the school was the same as reporting themselves. It should not be these people in front of him. They were not that stupid. Then who could it be? Why would they be so nosy? At this moment, the principal's cell phone rang. Although there was no internet here, it was still possible to make a call. The principal, who was originally in a relaxed mood, heard the voice on the phone. His expression changed and the phone fell to the ground. The people watching the live broadcast had strange expressions on their faces because they had clearly heard what was said on the phone. The person on the phone said, "You know that you've been exposed. Now, your meeting has been clearly broadcasted live. What exactly happened there?" The principal's face turned pale. When he came back to his senses, he quickly picked up the phone. Just as he was about to say something, the call was hung up. His heart was like an ant on a hot pan. He hurriedly dialed back, but the response he got was, "Sorry, the number you have dialed is unavailable, Vertex." Chapter 23:12. At this moment, the people watching the live broadcast understood that the person who had called the principal must have been staring at the live broadcast all this time. When he realized that his voice was clearly being broadcasted in the live broadcast, he was so scared that he hung up the phone and didn't dare to say another word. Looking at the principal's pale face in the live stream, he sat down on the floor in a daze. The viewers in the live stream started to comment. Streamer 666 countless Streamer 666 floated by. This made the live stream's popularity soar to number 1 on the internet after the second live stream. Now, the people who were watching the live stream were basically watching the show in the live stream. Although they didn't know how this streamer was able to live stream such a scene without being discovered, they were very impressed that she could expose such disgusting behavior. Now that the person who was scolding the live stream was gone, they were looking forward to the police going to arrest this group of people. "Principal, what's wrong?" Yu Hong hurried over and helped the principal up. "What's going on?" The principal swallowed his saliva and said nervously, "Quick, help me look around. Is there a camera in the meeting room? The entire internet knows about our current situation. That person is live streaming us." He had forgotten that they were being live streamed. Wouldn't it be a joke if he said that? But everyone panicked and looked around. In the end, they couldn't find it. "Principal, are you mistaken? We don't have internet here." Yu Hong turned on her phone. The internet wasn't good at all. Not to mention watching the live stream, even sending a message was stuck there. She couldn't send it at all. Finally, there was some movement, but in the end, there was a notification that it hadn't been sent. The principal looked at his phone and realized that the internet wasn't working. His lips trembled as he hurriedly called people he was familiar with. But after calling a few times, their phones were all turned off. It didn't matter whether the entire internet was live streaming the situation or not. If all these phones were turned off, it could only mean that something had really happened. He was finished. In the end, he called another number and it finally got through. He hurriedly asked the other party to check the situation online. When he found out that it was still being live streamed, his face turned ashen. The principal hurriedly got up from the ground and walked out. The others asked him what was going on, but he didn't say a word. He just drove away. It looked like he was planning to run away. All of a sudden, everyone lost their backbone. The people who were originally watching the live stream became anxious. What if this person ran away? But soon, they were worried because the principal's face appeared in the broadcast again. They laughed happily. Later on, the principal received another call and slammed on the brakes. He sat by the side of the road, his legs wobbly and unable to move at all. Where was the camera hidden? Why was it that wherever he went, the other party would take pictures of him? What kind of terrifying black technology was this? The police rushed over and arrested the principal by the roadside. After that, no one in the school was spared. They were all controlled. Fong Yilu, who had been sitting anxiously in the infirmary, looked relaxed and cooperative when the police rushed in to take her for questioning. At the same time, the parents of the children in the school were all notified. Tanggua's parents were also informed. Currently, all of them were being brought back together. Vertex. Chapter 23:13. The police had saved all the videos of the atrocities. The perpetrators would not escape punishment. They would face prosecution for abusing minors. Even if the parents did not pursue the matter and expressed understanding, it would be useless. As for the parents who sent their children to this school, the police could only criticize them verbally and educate them. There was nothing else they could do. Especially those stubborn parents who blamed the police for being nosy and shutting down the school. Where were they going to find such a school to save their children who were addicted to the internet? This gave the police a headache. It wasn't that they didn't want to interfere or help these children, but these stubborn parents were too much of a headache and disheartening. They could control them for a while, but they couldn't control them forever. This was something they felt sad about. They could only do their best to punish this group of demons. The situation was complicated and everyone had their own helplessness. Tanggua knew all this. She didn't care at all because the real show had just begun. Among these parents, there were also some who watched the live broadcast and cursed at the school for its atrocities. There were also some who regretted watching their children suffer. There were also some who thought that the school was unorthodox and wanted to change schools for their children. The children who originally thought that they had been saved turned ashen when they heard these words. There were also some who ran away after being taken home that day. As for whether they were caught or not, the viewers online didn't know. The live broadcast ended when the police arrested the group of people and took them to the car. Although they wanted to know what happened, it was obvious that the host of the live broadcast would not tell them anything about the children. Tang Guo was also brought home. Right now, she was having dinner with Father Tang and Mother Tang. The two of them were discussing the storm this time. Mother Tang looked a little guilty. I didn't expect that school to be so unorthodox. I watched the videos previously. Luckily, someone exposed them. I think those children were disobedient and the teachers had no choice but to take action. The two of them had watched the videos later. They didn't watch the live broadcast and didn't know the cause and effect. They only knew that because someone exposed the teachers hitting the students, the school was arrested by the police and the school was now locked down. It seemed that the teachers who hit the students were going to be prosecuted. The police also encouraged the children who had been abused to point out the people who had beaten them. However, most of the children remained silent. Their parents did not allow them to testify. There were also a few more lively children who jumped out to talk about their own experiences. Two of them were Ding Kun and Chen Zhou. They had not suffered much. However, the injuries on their knees had not completely healed. It was obvious that they had been abused. Ding Kun, in particular, did not return home that day. When he was at the police station, he called his grandmother and told her what had happened. Currently, he had been brought back by his grandmother. Now that his uncles had returned and heard about what had happened to their nephew, they were looking for trouble with his father. In any case, Ding Kun's crisis should have been resolved. With his intelligence and wisdom, coupled with the support of his relatives, he should not be sent to the so-called anti-internet school again. As for Chen Zhou, the situation was not good. Vertex. Chapter 23:14. When he was brought back, his father knew that he had jumped out to testify that he had been beaten up, so he gave him a tight slap. At the moment, his father was planning to send him to another school to teach him how to get rid of the internet. Chen Zhou saw that the situation was not good, so he pretended to be obedient and took the opportunity to run away. Although he was almost 16 years old, he had already applied for an identity card. Therefore, he took his identity card and called Ding Kun. This was the number that Ding Kun had given him. He also said that if he needed help, he could call him. In the end, he went into hiding and was picked up by Ding Kun not long after. As for going to school, he thought about how fierce his father was. If he did not get sent to another school, he would not be able to go to school. In the end, he decided to follow Ding Kun into Taobao. Ding Kun said that now was a good time to take advantage of this opportunity to expand his shop and make a name for himself. Chen Zhou still liked computers, so he did not say anything and followed suit. When he had money in the future, he could learn anything he wanted. Just like that, the two teenagers started a business together. With the help of Ding Kun's grandmother and uncles, they solved many problems for them. Dear host, there should be no problems with Ding Kun and Chen Zhou. These two fellows were both very hardworking and very smart. Especially Ding Kun, he is a ruthless character. What about the male and female leads? Now that the school has been destroyed, they should not have a chance to meet. The female lead was taken back by the police for questioning. They found out that she just started her internship today and did not know the situation here, so she was released. As for the male lead, I heard that he was just sent to school halfway. His parents kidnapped him when they found out that the school was being investigated. They are now contacting another school for him. There are many schools like this all over the country. It is impossible to clean them all up. Tangguo lowered her eyes and smiled. Then take your time. I have plenty of time anyway. Hearing this, the system felt goosebumps. What was the dear host's plan? Xinghua, now that the school is gone, what should we do? Tangguo's mother, Zhang Yuehua, hesitated. She glanced at Tangguo, who was eating with her head buried in her mouth. Xiaoguo seems to be a lot more obedient. Speaking of which, although school is still useful, I think that school is a little scary. Why don't we just forget about it and leave it at that for now? Tang Tangguo's father, Tang Jingguo, was also observing Tang Guo. Seeing that she was eating obediently and had no intention of running away, he nodded. All right, let's not send her to school for the time being. Dad, Mom, can I go back to university? Tang Jingguo frowned. Don't worry. Stay at home for a while. You can go to school later. It seemed that Tang Jingguo did not think that Tang Guo had really become obedient and learned well. Xiaoguo, your father is doing this for your own good. Zhang Yuehua began to persuade him. There are so many bad things on the internet. We're all afraid that you'll be addicted to it and learn bad things. Just stay at home for a while. If you really learn well and don't touch those bad things or do those embarrassing live broadcasts, your father will agree to let you go to school. Tang Jingguo nodded. That's right. What's the point of us working so hard to send you to university? Isn't it so that you can make a name for yourself and find a proper job in the future? I think it's best if you come back and take the exam or become a teacher. Nowadays, girls take the exam. Being a teacher is the best job. It'll be easier for you to find a good partner. Peak. Chapter 23:15. Of course, the couple hoped that Tang Guo would become a civil servant or a teacher. Of course, working in a bank was not bad either. In their eyes, these three jobs were the most respectable and respectable. They were also the most popular in the dating market. No matter who they told, they would gain face. Tang Guo did not refute and only nodded. She had her own plan. Anyway, these two people could not be saved and she had no intention of saving them. She would think of a way to torment them and make her feel better. They were the parents of this body. If she said that they were wrong, perhaps the people in this society would think that they were doing it for her own good. If she really did something extreme, they would most likely stand on the side of public opinion and be accused of being unfilial. If they wanted her to be obedient and filial, then she would follow their wishes and be obedient for a while. Didn't they say that she had been led astray by the internet? Now, she wanted to tell them that the internet was not the only way to teach bad people. There were many ways to teach bad people. For the first week, even the couple did not allow Tang Guo to go out. Even if she went out, they would follow her. Her identity card, wallet, and other documents were in their hands. As for her cell phone, even if she had been led astray by the internet, how could they give her a cell phone? Therefore, even if she went out, she did not have anything except her clothes and herself. During this time, her relatives came to see what had happened at the school. They verbally criticized the school. Then, because Tang Guo was dressed properly and looked obedient, they said that even if the school's methods were a little extreme, they still managed to get her back. The relatives' words made the couple even more convinced that they had not done anything wrong by sending Tang Guo to the school. If they had not sent her there, would she be so obedient now? Perhaps she would be doing that embarrassing live broadcast again. No matter what these people said, Tang Guo listened obediently at the side without any intention of refuting. Her obedient behavior made them even more convinced that the school was useful and that they had not spent the money in vain. A week later, Tang Guo could go out every day. However, she still didn't have a phone, and her ID card was still in Mrs. Tang's hands. As for money, Mrs. Tang only gave her 10 yuan. For the first 2 days, they let Tang Guo go out for a walk. In fact, they secretly asked someone to follow her. Seeing that she really didn't run around and just went to the riverside and took a walk in the park, he felt much more relieved. Their object was not to restrain her from going anywhere, but to make her as obedient to them as before. Now, she didn't run away anymore. She had been quite obedient recently. That night, the couple had been discussing if they should wait for another month before sending her back to school and telling the school that she had recovered. As long as their daughter was obedient and followed the path they had paved for her, she could come back after graduation to take the exam, become a teacher, or enter the bank. In short, as long as Tangua chose any one of these three professions, they would be very satisfied. After the job was settled, they planned to introduce her to someone, get married, and have children. This process was something they had planned long ago. Their initial plan was to keep their daughter in the local area. They only had one daughter, and she was stubborn. How could they let her work hard in a big city? Vertex. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.